This woman woke up in a cryogenic chamber with no memories of how she got there, and she can't get out, and she needs to pee really badly. Why are we starting this movie with a white rat in the craziest maze ever? This movie is about to stress me out. I already know it. The next couple seconds, scratch that, hours, are horror for anyone who is claustrophobic. Someone who is pretty much trapped from head to toe is struggling to breathe, but she somehow manages to free herself from the entrapment. But there's a bigger machine she's still entrapped in. While she's struggling, the machine wakes up and is now talking to her. He says he's her medical interface liaison operator, Milo, and he is programmed to meet all of her medical needs. But when she says what she needs is to be let out, he says he can't comply with that request. Way to go, sir. This customer service sucks. Anyway, since she can't leave, she asks for a progress report, and from that, she figures she's in a hospital. Then she starts shouting for help, for someone, anyone to come get her out of there. But of course that doesn't help. The only thing it does is reduce her oxygen level. She's at 34% now. She now stays calm for a bit to try and figure out what's going on. Apparently the pod she's in has failed and info has been sent out, but there hasn't been any response. She tries to calm herself down by telling herself to breathe and saying to herself, "I'm not in a box. Ma'am, you are in a box." Then her mind starts wandering back to many things. We see a little girl, a woman with a man, and a woman carrying a box of rats. At this point, she asks Milo who she is and what he's gonna say. She has a code name instead of a normal name, Ami267. She now asks Milo to give her a visual of herself, and he does. She tries to trick Milo into telling her what her real name is, but it doesn't work. She's much calmer now though, breathing much better and remembering more things. Running in the woods, water, grass, peaceful things. But just as she's about to drift off, this very rude machine shouts that her oxygen level has dropped to 33%, and he's advising her to reduce consumption in order to delay asphyxiation. Not even stop, delay. So what's she supposed to do? Just not breathe? Now that thing starts inducing more chaotic thoughts of her, dying, and also of a white rat. Rip in peace. She now asks for her diagnosis, but her medical report is unavailable. At this point, she's out of options, so she just begs Milo to open the pod and let her out. Honestly, begging never hurts. I'd do the same if I were in her position. I know that for sure. But begging doesn't work, so she commands it to unlock. Close enough. She just doesn't have the authorization code that Milo asked for. Up next, she tries to get Milo to make a call, but he says all external communications are unavailable. The medical report he sent was via the central data line, so she asks if she can send an audio transmission through that line, and he says yes. Finally, a way out. She calls the cops, and all the questions they're asking her are now making her cry because she doesn't know the answer to any. She doesn't know her name, where she is, nothing. For a second, the police even think it's a false report, and can you blame them? Anyway, they stay on the call and tell her to try and find anything about the pod that can help while they try to track her location. She finds the name and serial number of the pod and reads it out to them. All this is already too much for the cop on the phone, so he passes her on to his superior. Or that's what he says he'll do, but the connection fails. But this woman's brain is now working in overdrive. She asks Milo to do a DNA search on her and find a match. That's really smart. He does, and her match is, her. But with this, she finds out her name is Elizabeth Hansen. From her name, a few more things come to mind. Then he hears a bang from outside, so she's calling out for help from whomever that might be. While she's shouting, she gets a call from Captain Moreau from the Department of Science and Technology. I guess that cop really transferred her to a superior, huh? That's a first. She gives him her full name and he asks where her oxygen level is at right now. It's at 31%. He asks how much time they have. She asks Milo, and Milo says with moderate level of consumption, 72 minutes, but with current level, 43 minutes. Like she's just gonna stop having air to breathe in less than an hour? That's terrifying. Captain Moreau is now asking her to try and remember anything. Suspicious behavior, anybody who might have been trying to hurt her, anything, but nothing is coming to mind. She's now suspecting that the captain knows something that he isn't telling, and he eventually opens up. They check the machine using the details she provided, and it turns out that this pod was destroyed 3 years ago according to the manufacturers. She now asks Milo for her full medical report, and as it turns out, she's completely healthy. In fact, her life expectancy is 82 years. On finding this out, she starts freaking out that someone just wants to hurt her. Her blood pressure rises to 210/130. Her pulse is now 142 beats per minute. The captain manages to calm her down though. He tells her they're working to get her out. Some of his men are on their way to the manufacturer in fact. Then she asks for the admin code to open the pod. Moreau says he'll try and get it for her, but they'll need a subpoena as the manufacturers are not exactly cooperating. While he's still talking, they lose connection. She tells Milo to try over and over again, but it keeps failing. She's crying now. I'm nearly crying with her at this point. While she's still panicking, she gives an oxygen level update. She's at 29% now, and Milo decided to give TMI by telling her chances of survival are 0. You're being very, very helpful here, Milo. After he says that, a snake-like robot, which apparently is a palliative care directive, comes into the pod and tries to initiate obligatory sedation protocol, but she manages to dodge the injection and she just keeps hitting the robot. While she's hitting it, Milo starts telling her that any deliberate damage to a cryosolate unit is a European federal offense punishable by 10 years imprisonment. Wow. Well, Well, sounds like an excellent idea to keep damaging it then. Do enough damage that the feds can come and get you out of there. Keep going, sis. Unfortunately, the robot snake doesn't want that smoke, so he leaves. She's now seeing trees, water, a man in a lab, but unfortunately, those things are not good for her oxygen levels. It keeps dropping. It's at 22% now. She tries to calm down and think her way out of this, so she asks Milo for everything he can get on Elizabeth Hansen. She's now checking press articles, and that's how she finds out that she's a Nobel-winning doctor in cryogenics, and she probably did this to herself. She checks her social media, and she can now identify her husband. She's remembering things about him. Now he's playing the keyboard. Oh, she remembers his name now and tells Milo to call him. The first number doesn't go. The second one does, but a woman picks up. She tells the woman that she needs to speak with Leo, and it's urgent. When she mentions that she's his wife, they hang up. What do you think happens next? Of course, she calls again. Who are you? Never call this number again, were the words of the woman on the other side of the call the next time she picked up. Maybe we should have played it cool and kept out the wife part. Liz keeps calling though, but the other lady just keeps hanging up. Oxygen level is down to 21%. Now Liz is trying to free herself from the physical entrapments. She manages to free her legs, and it's so nice to see her smile for the first time. She's more positive now. She's looking around trying to find a way to open the pod, and then boom, she sees a white rat inside her pod. This is an absolute nightmare. She keeps at it though, trying to open the pod. Her pulse rate is spiking, and Milo offers a sedative. At first she says no, but she eventually says yes. She has a plan. When the robot snake things come out again, she grabs it and tries to remove the syringe part of it. She succeeds. She's trying to use that syringe to open the pod through a hole, but she's electrocuted, so she gives up. She says, "I'm gonna die," to herself and starts picturing the white rat in a maze when a call for her comes in. It's the captain. His men got the subpoena and are at cryosolate, but she suspects there's a problem and asks the captain. But before he can even reply, Milo tells her her oxygen is now at 17%. She's shocked. She complains to the captain that she's losing track of time and of what's real, so he tells her she's probably suffering from a psychotic episode induced by isolation. Relatable. So he tells her to try and focus on what she knows is real. In order to achieve that, she takes a needle and pricks herself. That immediately takes her back to when she was with her husband. I guess he was only packing a needle, if you know what I mean. She's now talking with the captain. She tells him she has a husband named Leo, and she thinks that we're trying to have kids. She tells him to try and find Leo. He'll know what happened, but the captain says that, according to their information, she was never married. Whoa! She now tells Milo to search for Dr. Leo Ferguson. Milo says no results were found. Then she tells Milo to search for Elizabeth Hansen at the Science and Technology Award, and she can no longer see the picture of both of them, which she saw just a few minutes ago. She's freaking out now, and frankly, I think I'll be joining her in a minute. The captain tells her Leo isn't real. He's now telling her she played basketball in college, and she was good. He also tells her that she has a doctorate in bioengineering and has received many grants and awards, but none of this sounds familiar to her. He goes on telling her she was born in Stockholm and was raised by a single mom. Liz thinks she remembers her mom, so she says Alice. Her name is Alice, but the captain says no. Her name is Isabel. He continues telling her about herself. She went to Oxford after medical school in Paris. She says she remembers Oxford. It's where she met Leo. She's telling the captain to look for Leo when Milo tells her her oxygen level has dropped to 15% and her blood pressure has spiked again. She's now shouting at the captain for the codes. He says his men will get to her soon, but they're 20 minutes away. She can now hear voices that sound like they're talking with the captain. She thinks he is lying to her, so she ends the call. Now she's seeing pictures of a terribly sick man playing the keyboard while she's out by the pool. A few seconds later, she and the man are being rushed into the ER. She's getting another call again, but she rejects it. She tells Milo to play back the last few seconds of the last call with the captain. She listens closely, tells Milo to pause, play back, and raise the volume. Then she hears these words. Tell her she's hearing things, that it's the stress. She's getting another call, but she rejects it yet again. She gets yet another call, and she accepts this time. She straight up starts yelling, thinking it's the captain again, but she hears a woman's voice. It's the woman who picked up that time she called Leo. The woman asks Liz if she's in a cryogenic unit. Then she tells Liz they don't have much time. It was not supposed to happen like this, and that something must have gone wrong. Liz says she wants to talk to Leo, but the woman says it's impossible because Leo is dead. She doesn't believe her, so she tells Milo to hang up. Milo hangs up the call, but he doesn't fail to remind her that her oxygen level has dropped yet again. She's at just 14% now. She gets another call, which she takes time to accept. It's the woman again. Liz asks her how she knows her name. She didn't tell her. The woman tells Liz she knew it was her from the moment she heard her voice, but she just could not believe it. She says she knows the code, but when Liz asks for it, she tells her she can't use it to open the pod. She doesn't care. She wants the codes regardless. She threatens to end the call. Then the woman gives her the code. She begs Liz not to open the pod, that if she does, she'll die. Well, if she remains here, she'll still die. Damned if she does and damned if she doesn't. So she does. But while she's unlocking, the woman says she can prove to her that if she opens it, she'd die. So she tells Milo to pause unlocking unlocking and gives her 10 seconds to prove it. The woman tells her to follow some steps, and boom, Liz finds out she's out in space, around 40,000 miles from Earth. Huh? What in the world? Sorry, what in the Milky Way? The woman is now explaining to her why she's in that box. Apparently, she was placed in hypersleep so she could carry out her mission, but something went awfully wrong. The woman talking to her is the one who designed the system, so now she's telling Liz that she can't bring her home, but she can put her back to hypersleep. But what Liz and I are interested in right now is knowing what mission they're talking about. The woman tells her, colonizing a planet orbiting around Wolf 1061. It's 14 light years away from the Earth. And guess what? She only just left. Both Liz and I can't believe what we just heard. Anyway, Liz is remembering more things now, and the woman is confirming them. This is a military project and she works for the military of defense. She doesn't know why though. She's now making sense of what happened with the captain earlier. He was indeed lying to her. Once the police ran a check on her, the government got involved, and the captain only started telling her what they wanted her to hear. The woman now explains that they lied to her because she has become a threat. They don't want her to recover her memory, so she doesn't somehow create general panic in the world she's now thousands of miles away from. It now dawns on her. The captain was only trying to buy time, waiting for her oxygen to run out. By the way, that is at 12% now. Like, come on, can't you see a damsel in distress here? Be a gentleman. Now the woman is telling her how Leo died. He contracted a bug, and it clapped him. The police lied to her that she went missing 3 days ago, but it so happens that she has been in hypersleep for 12 years. The woman now tells Liz that she's only wasting her time and oxygen. They need to work together and find a solution. Liz is cooperating now. The easy solution doesn't work, so they have to go the longer route. While she's telling Liz what to do, she says they're here. Apparently, the police found her because we can hear "get on the floor" from her end. Anyway, before she's cut off, she gives Liz some instructions. She tells her to go into hypersleep before oxygen hits 2%, find out what triggers her memories, then she'll find the memories she needs. Finally, she shouts, "Find Leo." What is going on? She's now trying to find what triggers her memories. Leo and the keyboard keep flashing in her head, but nothing. Now she asks Milo, who authorized her participation in this mission, and he says she did. Now she's repeatedly asking herself what the woman meant by "find Leo," and why she's trying to rack her brain. Oxygen level, 11%. She does some stuff I don't understand because I never paid attention in science class. But then she presses upon that part of her palm, which she cut open, and she's seeing Leo again. That's not enough, so she does the same thing that made her get electrocuted the other time. But the first shock doesn't give her enough, so she goes again, and she can see herself in an operation room with Leo. After the fourth shock, she hears Leo say, "Don't worry, we'll meet again." Now she's seeing stuff falling from a tree and a couple sitting on a bench. She's back to the present day, and she asks Milo to search for a contact for Alice Hansen and call it. It's her mom. She's just unloading on her, crying, telling her she just wanted to hear her voice, and telling her she loves her, but the network is just so bad and they stop hearing each other. Instead of Milo to comfort her, he tells her oxygen is at 6%. Now she's thinking of what will happen once her oxygen runs out, and Milo says she'll die within 3 minutes. She then asks how long she'll last in space. That's even worse. 9 to 11 seconds. Oxygen is now at 5%. And what does she do? She tells Milo to unlock the door. Come on, it's definitely worse out there. Milo says it's not wise, but she insists. She provides the passcode and says, "See you, Leo," as Milo starts counting down to decompression. But just as he gets to 1, she tells him to abort. In the moment just before that, she could see Leo being wrapped up and put in a pod just like the one she's in now. So she asks Milo how many AMI units exist. He says 10,000, and they are located within a 173-foot radius around her. She asks to see the other units. So on her orders, Milo takes off the filtration that has been above her pod the entire time, and boom! First, one decomposed face, and then we pan out to the other AMI units. We go all the way out, and then back into her eyes. The filter is now restored. She asks how many units are still operational, and Milo says 9,567. 433 have been lost, and hers is one of them. She now finds out that she is the only one in a lost unit that has been revived. The rest got clapped in a collision with an asteroid. She now asks to see the interior of the other units. She's going through them now. Then she remembers a number from Leo's file, 42. Unit 42 is still operational, and Milo shows it to her. She asks for his face to be uncovered. She sees him and smiles. But there's a problem. She can't find his scar. So she asks for another search on herself and asks to see videos. She plays one of the videos and it's her giving a science lecture about memory transfer. But she's much older in the video. Much older. Now here's the crazy part. She asks Milo to play back the call with that woman and run voice recognition. And trust me, you're not ready for this. That woman is her. What? She's basically a clone, and that realization completely freaks her out. She's going mental now. And as you expect, her oxygen drops further. It's at a critical threshold now, 4%. She's now recording recording a message for Leo. She's saying sweet stuff to him as she prepares to die. But then, she says she wants to live, so she's trying to give it another go, but her oxygen level drops to 3%, and Milo says charitable euthanasia protocol will be administered in 1 minute. Awesome! She tries to stop it, but it can't be stopped. Milo is counting down, but just before it gets to 1, she manages to remove the attached injections that could have killed her. She's now trying to go into hypersleep, but it can't work, as she has disconnected virtually everything from her body. Now she can see hundreds of rats in her pod, but apparently they're not real. With her oxygen levels now at 2%, she reconnects everything that needs to be connected, but after she's done, Milo says she can't survive resuscitation. Her final message to Leo is that she tried, but she won't make it. But she's not alone. She's not the only one lost. There are others. Then she says goodbye to him and ends the recording. Just before she goes off, something pops up in her head. She has an idea to transfer oxygen from the other missing units into hers since they're all dead. But Milo says it'll take over 14,000 minutes, so he'll have to put her in hypersleep while he carries out the maneuver. So she agrees to be put in hypersleep and accepts the sedative. She apologizes to Milo, and Milo accepts her apology. That's funny. Anyway, she asks Milo to describe the wolf planet and the journey. He does. She then tells him to describe the Maui beach. He also does. That calms her down. Finally, she asks Milo to rename Omni-267 to Liz. He does. And then she's covered up, and boom, hypersleep. We now see an image of space and something disappears. I didn't pay attention in physics class, so I don't know what that is. The last thing we see is Leo and Liz by the beach dressed in all white. I'm just so happy I got to see this woman walk before the movie ended. She really laid down there for 2 whole hours. Moral of the story? Trust no one, not even yourself.